Live. So we're gonna go through and I'm gonna do my best to explain a couple of things that I changed up for Kingdom Death to make it easier for me to get to the table, and hopefully that'll help you as well. As you can see, we've got kind of the basic setup. The board's on there, it's down here. I'm using the little monster controller setup. I've got these fine little boxes that I made myself, and there are videos on the channel that you can watch, and you'll see what that's all about in just a second. I show you exactly how to make this one, and you flop it out and you got your white lion cards, you got your lion there, and I went and I did it for every single monster, including the lonely tree, and I made little spots for the cards for the gear cards as well. And then I decided, you know what, I'm having a hard time with these gear cards because I don't want to take the box back and forth. What's a way that makes it a little bit more sense? Well, I went and picked up some cheap as hell, steal it from another box, cardboard that you can get from Amazon as chipboard, and or you can just take apart another board game box because it comes with the same stuff, and make yourself an interim gear card box. So as my settlement progresses, I've got all of the gear cards I'm going to need and I'm going to play with during the game, ready to go for the settlement phase whenever I need it. Okay, so I don't necessarily have for the white lion because he's usually there for me whenever I'm going to start running a game, usually the first thing out, and I want to just be able to put him away. I keep the white lion remaining stuff in here for the gear cards. You can do it with a Gorm, you can do it with whatever your L1 monster is, and or tier 1, however they're broken down by Poots. And that'll speed you up quite a bit. I've got everything up to the Phoenix in the regular box in here. What do you do about the other ones? Well, if you bought the box of cardboard, you can make 2. So if you run out of space, you just make a second one. These things here are not gear cards, obviously. They're extra cards that were in, you know, sometimes they screw up with what they send you. And then sometimes, if you go on their website, you can find things like Alice in Twilight Night, these custom scenario things. I printed off myself and laminated them. I print them off on cardstock and laminated it so that I could play the game, and I throw it in with my regular stuff that way. So if you're into that, maybe you want to go in and find a tabletop simulator install that has all the different abilities in it, and you can print off a bunch of those as well so that you don't have to constantly record what each ability does. You can just print it off and stick it with your character. I'm going to show you how that works in just a second. There's also some fun people that you have to thank right up front, and that's the people that make the content creation for the community editions of Kingdom Death, and Fen on Patreon, who makes a lot of this stuff that makes it easier for you to understand the game, work the game, all that kind of stuff. So thank them up front. Hopefully you have already found out about them, because they do provide some free materials for you, and some things like the Black Lion that you can use your White Lion in to play against, and it's a more difficult encounter and different system, different story, all that kind of stuff that the community made to make their own expansions. So let's keep going. What else we got? Well, I got this folder right here full of stuff. I'm going to set that aside for right now. I'm going to set aside my gear cards because we're not in the settlement phase and I don't really need that just yet. Right now it looks like we're in a hunt. We might need that. Things that you might end up with on a hunt: tokens, priority token, endeavors, different things you may spend as you go through. And one of the things I did on the box is I printed off, I don't know if you can see what the labels are on either side. So when I'm done with the box, top, I set this in here, and then that tells me if I got the right one I might not have it at this point, but I just threw it in there. Well, I was looking backward at the camera, at the monitor, but you can just pull off what you need, and oh, I did get it right. And you have all your stuff. These are coin capsules. They make it seem like the $350 you invested at a minimum in this game, plus shipping and whatever else you put in, that you're not going to waste it by things getting spilled and broken on your tokens. And since the tokens don't really change that much, maybe the art eventually will have some other change to it, but I highly doubt it. A nice permanent home like these coin capsules means stuff doesn't get spilled on them. I like them a lot. They also feel better in the hand. They're easier to grab. Not everybody's got nimble little fingers. I am a fat giant, so my fingers are fat giant fingers, like sausages, and you know, that's just how you deal with it. You can set this in nice little free space up there, wherever your table is. This is actually a smaller table than I normally use, just to be able to film it a little easier. And what's this? What's this thing here? Okay, this is a new innovation, and I did put some Survivor art on it. Same way that I made the White Lion box, I made this box. You use the same exact tools, same exact whatever. Just take your measurements and make yourself a nice organized little box and set your stuff inside. Or you can use this lid to set other things on top of to get it off the table. For right now, I'm just trying to get everything into view for you. Okay, so what do we have? Things that the community made. These little handy dandy cards are things wherever you got your hit locations, so you don't have to constantly go back to the book and find out what went wrong. There is a typo on one of these. Hopefully they fixed it by the time you go and print it off, but you can find it on Fenn's Patreon. There's some extra gear sleeves in the event when I swap things back and forth. I can put it in there before I stick it somewhere for more permanent storage. Terrain! There's all this terrain. Do you have to keep your terrain in there? No. If you, let me move some chairs out of the way. If you go out of your way to print off Axolote Gaming's 3D terrain yourself, like I have, it's not going to fit in here. You just put it in another box. If you want, you can do like I'm doing. I made a box out of paper and cardboard. It's glue. The glue's drying. You know, you can make yourself a box to go with that to keep the stuff in. But right now, we're just going to talk about the cardboard. It stays in here. I glued all of the edges, and then I, before gluing it, I took a dry erase marker and put black around them because I think it looks way better that way. And you don't have to do that. You can do whatever you want. If you are going to do it, I would use, let me reach around to grab it, the satin Mod Podge, specifically the satin, to make sure that the edges look nice, and it kind of matches the edges and the luster or specularity, however you want to refer to it, of the finish on these, and makes it not so much if you get a little if you put matte or high gloss or something that looks a little less like the same coating, then you're going to be able to tell. You just wipe your thumb off, but even when you do that, to try to get some of the mess off, as long as the finish matches it, you'll be okay. So I didn't have to worry too much about it here. When I dabbed them, if you watch my video on upgrading Nemesis, it's all the same function, it's all the same stuff. It's exact same Mod Podge, exact same chisel, foam brushes, and everything like that that I did the whole game with, and the exact same clothespins you just saw in the other box I made. The very same. Spend some time making things nice, and when they go on the table, you know, they look nice. When they're sitting out there, you don't have that brown cardboard edge, and that's up to you what you do or don't like. Move these a little bit out of the way. What's this? Well, I like to keep my innovations in play. I wrote on it, Innovations in Play. And these little baggies, you can get them on Amazon too. Just look for Ziploc bags. And that tells me what I do and don't have. I can quickly look and see if I'm going to have anything. Maybe it's been a while since I played. I can look and see if I have any additions to survival or insanity or things that I have to do before an encounter, showdown, and go from there. So once you take these cards off, depending on the terrain and how you set up the terrain, we'll get to those cards in a second. I have more like lunacy counters. I have bleed tokens in here somewhere. These ones are the prism things, I think. I think these ones are bleed. I'm reaching over. The same size fits each one, but because of the weird shape, it's not 100% the same. You can use the bleed tokens however you feel fit, but I think it actually makes it a little easier, not necessarily fit in there, but a little easier to have it be the same round shape as everything else. And then, what else are we going to do? Well, we may run into stuff as we do our hunt that may require different terrain. It may require some strange resources. It may require fighting arts. It may require innovations. It may require hunt events or different other types of the regular universal cards, you know, like those. Whatever the case is, the resources and that kind of thing. I'm going to run into them in the settlement. I'm going to run into them on the hunt, and I'm going to run into them during the fight. Okay, so I typically, I'll pull this up now. I typically, see, they look janky on the inside, but who cares? It looks fine on the outside. We'll just set this on top, set it aside, and then I can reach quickly because it's up a little bit. It makes my reach a little easier to grab the stuff that I need. I set my trauma stuff next to it. Innovations I can throw back in there. And if I pull the terrain cards out, and then I can pull out the terrain other stuff that I need. It's really fast, simple process. Goes back in the same box. Same box goes back on the shelf the exact same way. It's all made out of wood. It's fully protected. I don't have to worry about anything. And if there's something that I need to swap in because of the type of creatures I've got, the type of campaign I've got, it's there. Keep your book handy wherever you need to have it to determine, it's upside down, to determine, you know, your events. Whatever happens in your story, you have it ready to go. You know, it's what you need. Hunt events are still there. It's not going to get any easier that way. But it does get easier once you pull out the folder. The folder has a lot of innovations in it that I'm sure other people have done before me, but I came up with it in my own way and used things and tools that were available to me. You may want to get yourself a laminator. You may want to find yourself some coin 2-inch pockets. You may want to get some 9-card regular card sleeve pages to do these types of things, but you don't need anything much more than that. You could laminate using tape. You can do whatever you want to do if you want to do it that way. This is how I'm going to do it. First up, just a regular binder that has my settlement in it, and this is the first laminated page I'm going to show you. This is laminated so that I can use my dry erase markers on it. I've got lots and lots and lots of dry erase markers, so all different colors for all different reasons. The other thing I have is Tabletop Simulator. And in the early days of Kingdom Death, everybody was like, well, we don't know if you should play it, well, Tabletop Simulator, or this, that, and the other thing. And now it's kind of like, well, it is a very useful tool for testing and iterations and all that kind of thing. So buy Kingdom Death, and then if you want to use Tabletop Simulator, at least you bought Kingdom Death, and maybe that gives you some license for it. If nothing else, you can go in and look at the assets that are available in Tabletop Simulator after you've downloaded the workshop files. So if you go into the mods, if you go on Google and you look up what is the folder that I need to use to find the assets from Tabletop Simulator, you'll find some cool things like this settlement tracking sheet. This is just for the regular core box, doesn't have anything from the expansions, but you could probably find that type of thing. And I thought it was really useful for me to just at a glance quickly look over and see what my paths were to upgrades. I can use the dry erase marker to mark them off, or I can use one of the many types of sheets for settlements that are available to people that play Kingdom Death. The other thing is something I created and I put up on Board Game Geek, and you can go there if you want. These are the strain system events, so I can mark off as I go. You can start a new one. They're cheap. You print them off, whatever the case is. The Echoes of Death 2 or 3 just came out on the Black Friday sale, which was yesterday for 2020. Obviously, those had not been included. There might be some others that I haven't included yet, but when I get around to it, I will. Or you can just go on to the same exact Excel file that I used and pull it off Board Game Geeks and add it yourself. Nothing will stop you from doing that, and you'll be able to track whatever it is you need to do and whatever it is that you've done already, so you can utilize the strain. Okay, now we have other stuff that you might be like, what is that? Well, this is my character sheet. This is one of those 2-inch 4x5 coin collecting plastic sheets, and I've assigned a color. In this case, they are not perfect color matches to each one of these characters, but it's close enough based on what I had available. Same thing with Tabletop Simulator. I happen to just prefer these breakdowns of the sheets. Now you can go out and do what I did. Let me pull it out of the thing for you. And you can print yourself some of these gear grids that look really nice. White, black, whatever gold color craziness that you want it to be. And, you know, they kind of fit. But that's all they do. They don't keep other information. They just look kind of nice, and they're all formatted to fit on a standard 3D printer, like a Monoprice Maker Select. And you can't really upscale it very well because the size of the printers, you might have to pay somebody else with a bigger printer to do it, to handle sleeved cards. So I didn't like that. What I did originally was I took you can kind of see here, the ability cards that I printed from Tabletop Simulator. These are in standard card size, and I cut the 9x9 card sleeve thing so that I could fit them in here, and that would put the weapon proficiency cards and any other stuff in the spots here, and then I just taped a 3x3 gear grid into it. And that's fine for some things, but I found pretty quickly that it's a weird size, and it just wasn't enough information to be kept at a certain time because these cards were too big. So, not being one to reinvent the wheel too many times, I went on Fenn and his Patreon page, and I paid him money for access to the Patreon, and I got some of his cards that he reformatted to go along with every single campaign, everything. So all the different fighting arts, disorders, different things that are needed as you play through the game, he reformatted to fit the same size as the gear cards. So now my gear is set up in a way that it takes up this 3x3 grid, and then I have plenty of room to set other conditions around the sides. I always try to keep, if possible, I had to go out and buy some more fist and tooths, and they should be arriving in a couple days, and some duplicates of other things that all 4 of your survivors can encounter at the time. So it's it can be difficult without them, but there's a bunch of different ways that, like if you had acid palms or other things going on, that fist and tooth can be adjusted, and you can set it for each player, and you can put it in the gear spot that is outside the 3x3 gear grid, which does count. It is something Poots has decided on, because there was a question of blood paint, whether or not you could use fist and tooth blood paint and a weapon, and he said yes. So this counts as a spot only for fist and tooth. Okay, what else are we doing? All right, I told you about the colors, that these go to these colors. I dry erase a Greek letter, so that's alpha. There's alpha, gamma, epsilon, whatever I'm into. I make all of the characters having Greek names so that it's easier for me to just quickly put what's there. I have my proficiencies. I have whatever adjustments I need to make. I got my hunt experience and understanding and whatever, and armor. I can make all those adjustments really fast because the pages are laminated. I don't have to constantly erase with an eraser on the paper sheets, and I like the way that this looked with the color behind it. It just fit better for me. You can set your bleed tokens or other tokens. There's a track that goes along with it, and you can make adjustments with colors and pluses and minuses and whatever it is you want to do. And when you go to switch characters, then all you do is erase the name, and then you can pop in whatever disorders and things that they need to do within a couple of minutes if you have to change out somebody, or you can quickly reuse the gear grids or characters if that's the way you want it and it's the way you want to use it. Okay, it's all pretty fast. It's about 2 or 3 minutes. By the time you lay everything out and go from there, you pop your monster out of the box, you take the cards out, you lay the cards into here, 2 or 3 minutes, you're ready to play at whatever stage you were at. It's up to you to design what it is that is your save game state, but you should be pretty quickly able to go with it. Do I need to say anything more about what's in this folder? All of the books are here in single sheets, so I can quickly go to whatever animal I'm hunting, whatever monster I'm hunting. There's some extra sheets that I might need there if I wanted to go back or show somebody like you a different method of using the gear cards. I use X's whenever I'm not allowed, like you get the vestophobia and you can't wear chest armor, and you put an X on it with the dry erase. I've got some quick reference sheets that I found useful if I ever forgot the rules. So those are handy because it's on a D-ring binder. You pop them in, you pop them out. Some extra character sheets. I do record on paper sometimes the characters, but the rest of the time I use blackledger.ca, and that does a much better job of doing the accounting for me. It doesn't have things like the Twilight Sword for whatever reason as an option, but for the most part, anything else, it works pretty well, and I can keep track of the characters, their names, their deaths, how they died, all that kind of stuff. These are fighting proficiencies and all that kind of stuff. I'm getting another 3 of each made, another set of rules for me to keep track of, and go from there. You're like, what about other stuff? Okay, well, I'll show you some other stuff. I use bags for everything. Those are the settlement events. This is not the innovations I have in play, but the innovation deck. I can keep it in the bag and keep it in order. You know, so you should pull from the top or whatever. You don't change anything in the orders. I might keep it in the bags. You take it out of the bag, you put it in the bag. It's pretty easy. And then I can handle settlement events that way, keeping everything nice and neat. You can do the same thing with locations. You just gotta take a ruler out, measure it, and then order it from Amazon. You'll be fine that way. Is there anything else that I need to show you? Oh, let's talk about the minis. Let's have a pretty good conversation about keeping track of your stuff. Well, the best mini storage solution I've found is this one. And you may find that to be very, very familiar because it's available at Harbor Freight. It's probably available in a similar condition at Walmart. I'm saying it looks a little different than what I see, because if you flip this guy over, you'll notice you can't see through it anymore. I've put adhesive velvet on the inside of every single one of these things. People were always, when I first started, I was like, I didn't know what I was going to do. I didn't know really what I was looking for as far as storage, but I wanted my stuff to be safe and I didn't want anything to get screwed up. And everybody was like, buy foam. Okay, I bought foam. Spent a lot of money on foam, and it was useless. Because every time I'd take something out, it would break my minis. Because something would get snagged. There's a lot of sharp points. Spears, the trees, all this other stuff would just break. And there was nothing you could do about it. When you went to open it up, it would break something. It's not even like you were handling it wrong. You just try to open up the foam. So forget that. Velvet is beautiful. Felt is beautiful. And you can buy it with adhesive backing. You're like, oh, but it looks so perfectly cut. Yeah, you know how I did that? I got something. It's a very special tool for like $10. Paper cutter. It cuts everything perfectly. You don't have to worry about it. It'll cut through cardstock. It'll cut through the felt. And it'll make a perfect line each time. Certain felt is thicker than others that it won't cut through, but it'll cut through the Teflon coated paper on the back, and you can use that with your scissors as a line to keep you straight the rest of the way. Get one of these. It's very, very helpful when you do this. And it'll help you mark things. And from there, I have all my painted minis. They all look beautiful. And some masking tape. You write on the masking tape before you put it on the curved surface. And I can find it real easy. These are a bunch of things that I painted that were like one-offs. And then I have another thing here with a bunch more that sit in it. And you could fit one or two minis in there. And one of the things I did is I would put what the armor type is with the type of weapon so that I could quickly go and find a mini that matched up with whatever I was looking at, whatever it is I thought I needed. And there are 4 slots on this box here, the normal box that I had, that you can store your characters in if you're not using it for the gear sleeves or whatever. And they won't get broken. You'll be able to use them however you like. And I can see the other thing that I had in here. I decided early on I wanted people not to grab the mini and break it. I wanted them to grab the base. Well, one of the ways you make them grab the base is you don't attach the base so that they have to pick it up or the thing doesn't go with it. Now they might get annoyed, but I don't care. I'm not going to get annoyed, and I paid for it. So what's going to happen here? Well, why is it red? Well, this one's red, and in here, my forever breaking when it was in foam bow person's green, and my sword person's blue, and my hand-to-hand brawler's yellow. Why do they have these detachable bases with the different colors? So that I can change up on the gear grids just as fast or faster which character is doing what, and I can change their mini out if they change their weapons. It's real fast. All it takes is that you don't put the final base cap or whatever they call it. They come in the bag, and they have I Heart Poots on them sometimes. and it's the Kingdom Death logo, just don't put it on. And you can swap it in, just color the rim in whatever color you like. I would highly recommend using a white primer on the entirety of those base caps for this purpose, and then put your paint on top, because the paint will show through much better and it doesn't stick very well to the regular plastic. Gray is kind of dull on the colors, and you really want a good thick coat of the color so that you can quickly grab it. And then I'll always know, no matter what weapon I'm using, who's blue, who's orange, yellow, green, and who's red for me. And that was one of the fastest things that I figured out super early on, partly out of laziness and then partly out of just not having the time to constantly switch out weapons. And I found myself only using the unarmored survivors, and I was like, man, I paid for so many of these minis. I want to be able to use them, but I don't want to have to reinvent the wheel every time I want to play. So what do? That's what I did. I colored the outsides, I matched them up to these laminated sheets, and I can pop them in and out of my notebook whenever I'm ready to play. All of my stuff is contained in this box here. I can set settlement events or anything else on top that I'm trying to keep track of, like innovations and different things like that. Swap it in, swap it out, put all my tokens away really fast, and one of the two, then put away my terrain. My teardown, 5 minutes, 6 minutes maybe. Half that to put everything out if I know where I'm going to go. Do I have a big closet full of black boxes now that look exactly like this? Yeah. I mean, it takes up more space in order to do it this way than if you were to just shove them haphazardly into the box. But I don't use the box for anything now except storing the extra pieces. What do I do about extra pieces? I bought a $2 plastic piece. I have labels on every single one. I took apart every single sprue so that I can mix and match things however I want, because they're all just extra pieces. And I put felt on the top so they don't bleed across. I had to super glue down the ribs that go along with it, and I put my good old masking tape. I wrote whatever the things are. You could probably add some more tape if it's not holding that well, if it bothers you. Or you just rub it again, maybe it'll stick a little better. But there's all my Gorm stuff ready to go whenever I want to make it, and I'll know if I have extra lanterns, I'll know if I have extra equipment, I'll know if I can sacrifice some pieces to making a nice diorama. Whatever I want to do, it's all there. Very low cost to make every single expansion and put it all into the boxes with the paint, with everything that I did. Probably $100. Considering you spent about $1,000 to get it, well, $100 isn't that bad to make sure it doesn't hurt, isn't it? Think about that part, and you can get it to the table faster. Make more out of your investment. So, if you enjoyed that, thank you very much. This was a live feed, and not a lot of people see the live feeds for some reason. They don't always get recommended. So you're going to have to show it to people that you see that might be interested. You can do that by hitting the share button, sharing the link, whatever you think might help some folks. If you have comments, questions, and concerns, you know how the comment section works. Try to be nice, because that's I know everybody else is mean, but you don't have to be. And you know, if you want to come back and enjoy the rest of my channel, the rest of my channel is about doing I break down what's available on Kickstarter, what's new every week, and it has to be available for you to jump in and back. It's not like one of those channels where it's like, oh, this is coming out, and then it never comes out. No. It's ready to go. I try to filter out whatever scams I can. And after that, we've got some board games. We've got RPGs, terrain, the 3D printable stuff, anything that a hobbyist would enjoy. I try to cover in as much detail as I can. Usually every campaign gets between 30 and 90 seconds. I try to do every campaign, big, small, it doesn't matter, because you're your own person and you can make your decision. And all these people that make top 5 lists, top 10 lists, you're not a single one of them. You don't have the same exact tastes as any of them. So I like putting a complete picture that you can go out of your way to learn more about a game that you enjoyed. Give a little bit of time to small creators, because that's where a lot of the innovation happens, is with the small businesses and not the big campaigns. So if there's somebody you love, then you'll probably find them on my channel, and you can keep up to date with whatever it is that you enjoy in the hobby every week on the weekend, just like today. Not going to be a live video, usually comes out Fridays or Saturdays, and you can keep up with it by subscribing. So thanks for watching the video to the end. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your hobbying time, and take care. You have a good one. Alright, I'm just going to snap my fingers real quick just to make sure that it ended. We're going to see it pop up in a second. This is how much lag there is. Oh man, it's like 30 seconds of lag.